I'm M. Marinelli, and you're listening to the Twin Peaks Tattoo Podcast. I'm a psychotherapist, a professor of psychology, and an author of Comfort Sequels, the psychology of movie sequels from the 80s and 90s. I write for the Blue Rose magazine, and I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan. I'm not a tattoo artist or a tattoo expert by any means, but I'm a tattoo enthusiast and wanted to make a podcast combining two things I love the most. Each episode of the Twin Peaks Tattoo Podcast interviews someone about their Twin Peaks tattoo and explores what their ink means to them. You can find the Twin Peaks Tattoo Podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Thanks for joining. It was just like any weekday afternoon. I was taking my rescue pups, Rusty and Radish, on a walk through the woods down to the river. Like usual, they stopped along the trail to play cat and mouse, choosing sticks to bait each other with. I loved watching them wrestle in the snow, which was only a few inches thick. It was a typically cold Vermont January day, but the sun came through the trees in streaks, making the white crystals covering the ground sparkle. Pockets of snow powder covered the river in patches, and I could hear the flowing water bubble underneath the ice. Rusty did his best to jump in for a swim, but it was too cold even for his Australian Shepherd coat. Think Lassie, but bushier. Radish, my skittish but loving blue tick hound dog, only edged to the waterline to take in little laps of the freezing river. While the pups played tag around the eastern white pines, I called my bestie just to say hi and shoot the shit. He answered seriously. Did you call because you heard the news? No, why? What happened? He hesitated, and maybe I heard him texting or typing. I could tell something was up. I guess David Lynch just died. It's not confirmed yet, but that's the rumor. My blood ran cold. The numbness that came over my body was shock, mixed with the frosty air that bit me in the face. Oh, okay, yeah, Sabrina Sutherland just posted about it. It's official. My rational brain kicked in. Oh, well, we knew he had emphysema and he wasn't doing well. I just wasn't expecting it, I said to him. Does anyone ever really expect it? I know we talked more and checked in and consoled each other, but I don't remember what we said. My psyche and my spirit checked out. I floated through the woods after that, Rusty and Radish, oblivious, playing alongside the trail. I touched each pine that I passed, as if to hold on to something that was sturdy, predictable, earthbound. I stopped at one and ran my hand down the side. Some pieces of ashen bark flaked off and fell next to an assortment of pine needles and a pine cone sitting atop the snow blanket. I put my hand where the bark chipped off, finding the wood growth underneath with my mittened palm. My partner called. Honey, I know you're on a walk. Are you holding on to a tree right now? It was so synchronistic because, yes, of course, I actually was. David Lynch died. Hearing the words made it real again. I know, and I'm really sad. And as soon as I said the word sad, a swelling started at the pit of my stomach and ascended through my rib cage and came out of my mouth in what can only be described as a whale cry. Rusty came right over to see if I was okay, but I barely saw him through the water, blurring my eyes. My partner asked to stay on the phone with me, but I said I didn't want to talk anymore right then. As I walked and wailed, an indescribable part of me mourned the loss of someone that I had never met. And then the judgments flocked in. How was I allowed to feel this much pain when Lynch's family was actually in grief? But I couldn't intellectualize myself out of my feelings. I was mourning. Snot ran down my face and froze. Radish ran up and jumped up to kiss me before going back to her dance of hide and seek with Rusty. I put on Julie Cruise and let the emotions run. I started getting texts from Twin Peaks friends and then other friends I hadn't talked to in a long time. They said they were thinking of me and sent love. It felt really good, but I could barely take it in. I left voice memos and texts to my Twin Peaks family. They too were trying to make it through their work days, struggling with the shock and a grief that it's hard to describe, but that we could all relate to. We were all feeling it. Several of them told me hearing about it in the trees was actually the perfect place for me to hear about it. And yeah, it did make sense, and it did help me feel a little bit lighter. Once I got back into the house, I did menial tasks, picking up my gloves from the floor, putting laundry away that was on my bed, washing some jars in the kitchen sink. My partner came and found me, and while I thought the wave had passed, it came hurling back and through me. I wept and curled into a ball on the couch. Radish got in her bed close by to make sure I was okay. Rusty flung his whole body on me and licked my face. My partner made a stress tension tea and soothed me with words and soft pets on my legs. And then, like all therapists, I had to get up and I had to see clients and I had to compartmentalize it for the rest of the day. When fires like this start, they're hard to put out, but they smolder and then the flames ignite again. So that night, after my last telehealth session, I closed my computer and let the emotions come back. A few days later, I was scheduled to record a women's panel for John Bernardi's Blue Rose Task Force podcast. I've been looking forward to talking about Fire Walk with Me so much. I was a huge fan of John's podcast and a total fangirl over these women guests. It was like a true honor to be asked, but I was still so raw. I just didn't know if I could do it. What would I say? How much would I cry? In my grief, would I forget smart sounding things I wanted to say and get jumbled in my words? When we got on screen together, it all melted away because we talked about it. We acknowledged it. We made space for it. And I was reminded that we're all going through it. And it was that realness, that vulnerability, and that space for collective grief that made that conversation so fantastic for me. We need community to feel and heal. So, my BFF Scott and I decided to offer a Lynch fan memorial, a support space on Zoom that included a meditation and a short ritual, and just a place for folks to share about what Lynch has meant to them in their lives. At one point, we had almost 80 participants, and the stories and the honesty and the tears and the laughter was even more medicine. And we got a ton of positive feedback, and I'm so glad it resonated for the community. We recorded it, and it's on YouTube, so I'll link it in the show notes in case you missed it. Monday, January 20th, Martin Luther King Day and Lynch's birthday, I joined the world in sitting together on Zoom in a 10-minute meditation to honor him. And while I couldn't see or hear any of the participants who had joined, I felt into the vastness of it, the vastness of our mourning, of all these people all around the world that I didn't know and I couldn't see, and the vastness of the possibilities that we could find each other in unity across these wavelengths. I sat and I cried, and I also thought of silly things too in my meditation. And I kept trying to bring my focus back to my breath. My thoughts wandered to like, what would I wear to yoga class later? And what is my next book really going to be? Or like, did I sound silly when I said that thing to a client earlier? I probably did. All real, all human. Each mind wandering was an opportunity to bring it back to the breath and to the present moment. The meditation ended with Lynch saying, "May everyone be free of disease. May auspiciousness be seen everywhere. May suffering belong to no one. Peace." Dave would have wanted this, I thought. All of us join this way, honoring the love and the light within ourselves that then would help ease suffering in the world. And on that particular day, which also happened to be Inauguration Day, so weird, filled with hate and oppression, I felt joy and hopefulness. His words touched me in places that I still don't totally have words for. And then talk about synchronicities. The same week of whale crying in the woods, I attended a grief workshop that I'd signed up for right after the election last November. So I had no idea when I signed up for it that at the time of the workshop, I'd also be grieving Lynch too. I wouldn't know that at this time of the workshop, the exact state of the world would be falling over to fascism, and there would be anti trans and anti immigrant legislation, and that I would feel such despair over the destruction of the earth and the natural world. It was actually perfect timing. I didn't know what to expect when I entered the upstairs workshop room at the art supply store where it was to be held. I'm like horrible at drawing, and I was just hoping the facilitator would be loose about how much we would have to draw or paint because it was a art workshop. So, and she totally was. She's an amazing art and movement therapist who I dance with and I trust. And so I knew it was going to be okay in the end. And in the end, the group was small, which was that much more intimate. She created an altar for us to share our stories. We took turns laying down stones that represented each element of grief we were holding and bringing into the space. I reached into the jar and grabbed a handful of quarter-sized stones, cupping them to warm them first. Each one I put on the altar allowed me to reflect with intention as I said out loud, David Lynch, my dogs, Grandma Jeline, Great Grandma Geneva, the rise of fascism right now, those impacted by the LA fires, the destruction of the earth and the natural world, the tyranny in Gaza, an overwhelming sense of impending doom, fear about being queer, and so on. Tears streamed down all of our faces, and they seemed to glow in the rainbow altar candles' light. She asked us to place on the altar the grief objects that we were asked to bring with us. Grief objects or transitional grief objects are items that represent someone or something that you're grieving. And that's really personal for each of us. So for me, I brought my grandmother's thimble, and I remembered her finger moving fast as she hemmed my grandpa's slacks. I brought my great grandmother's wedding ring that looked like a triangle vortex that I was mesmerized by as a kid when it bobbed up and down on her finger as she played the piano. I brought crystals that represented my dogs, Goldie, Lil, and Sis, that have crossed the Rainbow Bridge. I brought Women of Lynch and Catching the Big Fish books, and a printed picture of Lynch as the director tarot card from Ben Mackey's deck. On the card, Lynch sits on a director's chair, holding the Eraserhead baby, the blue velvet white fence and roses behind him. The elephant man head is to his left, the bunnies behind him, and surrounding them are red curtains and fire. I looked at all these relics, including the ones of my ancestors, and I felt the altar was keeping them safe and warm and protected. During the workshop, I occasionally glanced over to see Lynch's tarot card, and I found myself smiling. And at that point, I just didn't care what my art piece would look like. I just started using watercolors and pastels and color pencils, and I put on paper whatever truth needed to just come out of me. Our sweet little group cried some more, laughed some more, and mourned on these personal and systemic and transpersonal levels. I felt all of it and how grief can transform me and help me grow. I felt seen and I felt held. I finally didn't feel silly for crying for someone I had never met. And this is what grief needs. We need each other. We need our communities. We need to have rituals and grief objects. We need supportive spaces. We need to honor our process as it unfolds in whatever that looks like for each one of us. And sometimes we also need tattoos. For this month's episode of the Twin Peaks Tattoo Podcast, I had the honor to speak to the awesome Matt Edgin. After Lynch's passing, Matt got a fantastic Lynch memorial tattoo, and I saw a picture of it online, and it just felt right to contact him for this episode. Losing Lynch had me also thinking a lot about Katie, Matt's wife, who many of us knew so well. She was on the pod last season. It's such a great episode. You should check it out if you haven't. Matt and I talked about the brilliance of Katie, the magic of the show we all love. And of course, we honored Lynch together too. More community coming together. We talked about electricity and music in the show and how it connects him to Katie and to the Twin Peaks universe in a bigger way. One of the best parts of our talk is how he answers the question to who he would play in Twin Peaks if there was a season four. It is wonderfully weird and a macabre answer. And of course, I love it. We also talk about his amazing Twin Peaks and Twin Peaks memorial tattoos, including one of Katie. Here's a bit about Matt in his own words. I see myself as just an average guy. However, I crossed paths with someone who was extraordinary. Not only did she introduce me to the beauty and horror that is Twin Peaks, she showed me how valuable life and time is. After losing her and fearful of facing the fact that I have to go on without her, I want to live every day for her until I see her in the trees again. I don't know where my next chapter will end, but I get to choose where it starts. And that's why I moved to Seattle, our dream spot. I see her in every snow-capped mountain, every stream, and every tree. Here's to a new beginning as the man she showed me I can be. Hashtag live like Katie. And now here is the wonderful and kind of strange in a great way, Matt. Well, hi, Matthew. Thanks for coming to the podcast. Do you go by Matthew or Matt?
Either one.
What do you prefer?
Matt, I guess.
Matt?
I
Okay.
used to be Matt Edgin on Facebook, but they said it was a celebrity name. It's some swimmer in Ohio, and I couldn't have Matt Edgin, so I had to change it to Matthew. So
Okay, I got it. Well, welcome, Matt. I'm so glad that you could join us and so last minute and also on this very somber day. It's, you know, Lynch's birthday today and also we just lost him. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that we're meeting during this very particular moment in time.
yeah, very, very strange, unusual, and I don't think he would have it any other way. So that's the only positive element I can, come back with. But it was cool getting to spend the day he passed. I went up to Tweeds and went and saw the falls and all that. So
Oh, you
it was
did.
it was a dark day, but I think I was in the perfect spot. So it
You were
was
in the perfect spot. Yeah. Yeah, that's so great. Did you see a lot of people there? Were there a lot of fans or community there as well?
I think I mean the media does what they do, and they were kind of taking over Tweeds when we were there.
Mm,
Uh, it was just a handful of people. It was about four or five of us, and I don't think, I mean, the news was fresh, and I only live about 20
mm,
minutes away, so I think I kind of got there before the rush got there. So I was kind of thankful for that, where we got to have our little group time without, it being a mass flood and horde of people kind of thing. Though I'm appreciative that they would come and pay their respects. It was just nice having our time for a little bit.
hmm I'm glad you got to have that. That's so great. I didn't realize that you were in Seattle.
Yeah,
Like, did you
as of
relocate?
August. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, congratulations. Wow,
Yeah.
that's a big move.
This was the dream and the honeymoon spot, and I told her like if something happens, I'm going. So I didn't have a plan. I just kind of one day I was sitting around. I was like, if I'm sitting around the house playing video games with Cheeto dust on my chest, she would not be happy with me right now, and that's what was happening. So I just called U-Haul and got a shipping container and loaded what I could in my car. And I didn't have an apartment or anything. I signed the lease going down the road on using PDFs on the highways in El Paso, Texas.
Oh my gosh, that's so bold that you just made it happen. I love also that you just said Cheeto dust. Like that's amazing.
Yeah. I'm a
And
Dorito guy, but Cheeto dust is the universal
the,
understanding of what I'm talking about.
I love that you made Katie a promise and then you made it happen.
Yeah,
How's
that's the
it
least
been
I can
since you've
do.
been there? Sorry, what'd you say?
That's the least I can do for her. So, but it's been great. I mean, it's been weird. The circumstances kind of suck, but as far as if it's gonna suck, I'd rather it suck where I told her I would be, as opposed to being back home in that house. Like, I don't think anything positive is going to come of that. So
Mhm.
she wouldn't want me to do that. I know that because she told me straight to my face. So I just made the jump, and it's been great so far. People have been nice. I heard about the Seattle freeze and people not being friendly here, and Texas is, where everybody's friendly and saying hi to each other. And I've had honestly a better experience in Seattle. I mean, you can tell who wants to talk and who doesn't, but for the most part, when I meet people at events and, concerts and games and stuff like that, I've had a pretty good experience thus far.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that. Did you have family, friends, or community people that you were connected with before? I imagine so in the area.
Just a couple of people I met in passing through the Twin Peaks community.
Hmm.
They kind of welcomed me in, and first few events, not knowing my way around, I had a couple of people go to some stuff with me just to kind of break me in, I guess. But people got their own lives and I got mine, but we connect when we can. But for the most part, it was just kind of taking a dive into the unknown, and that's what I did.
That's so badass. That's so great. Are you going to the event next month?
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, good. Okay. I look forward to meeting you in person. I don't think we've met in person, so I think.
Our buddy Aaron Cohen like put me on to the early owl VIP thing, so I was able
Right.
to take care of that sometime like early summer. So I'm all prepped and ready to go
Oh,
for
you're
that.
ready. You're so ready.
Can't wait.
I think it's going to be a great event this year, especially just, honoring Lynch and bringing that aspect into all of us gathering. I think that's a really important part.
Yeah, I was hoping. Well, I don't know what I was hoping, but I was thinking maybe that would be a downer with him having passed, and then have Twin Peaks Day shortly after that. But somebody kind of explained to me like it's cool, I guess if it was gonna happen, that it happened now, and then everybody can kind of convene together and just kind of have a tribute and celebrate. And I was like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. I just thought it was gonna be depressing the whole time, but I guess that is a good way to look at it.
Yeah, the celebration. And I think maybe it'll just be like all over the place. Like it'll be some tears and some joy and, just
Yeah.
like the gamut of course, like what grief is. And of course, I'm saying this to you and you know exactly what I mean in all of those ways that grief is like a process and not an event. And it just goes in different directions all the time. And we can't always predict it. I,
Yeah.
um, it was last season that I was able to have Katie on the show and we talked about that and I sent you her episode and um it was one of the most incredible conversations that I had. She's like just like an incredible human, shared so much and her tattoos are fucking amazing. Like they are
My first
gorgeous.
tattoo was a little like star thing on my arm, which took all of 20 minutes, and her first tattoo was a half sleeve on wrapped around her entire upper arm. Like, I've had my arm tattooed on the inside, and I mean, for that to be my first tattoo and sit through that, I think she said it was a 5 or 6 hour session,
Oh
and
my
just
God.
it's ridiculous for your first tattoo.
I mean, it's just like and it's so beautiful. I mean, the artist that she chose and what she chose, the depictions were so great. And she of course told me about your engagement story and all of that. And it's all there and it's all connected to Twin Peaks. And it's
Yeah,
just so beautiful to have had that with her and then now be able to talk to you about about your world and your relationship to Twin Peaks, but also about your ink and
yeah,
of course, how you're here in the community and now really like physically there in the world of Twin Peaks too.
that's pretty
And
surreal.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty surreal. So how did Twin Peaks come into your life?
Katie. Our first date, we initially went to this like sushi spot, which is fine, but it was just kind of all I don't know, just the generic first date, take you to a restaurant, maybe we'll go do something after, but we were just sitting around and I was hearing her talk, and basically the experience you had when you hear her talk and articulate her thoughts and stuff like that, I'm just like, I could do so much better than just sitting at a $15 sushi bar. Like, I was like, you want to go do something else? And she was like, "Yeah, I'm down for anything." And so I took her around, drove around my hometown and showed her a couple little places I hung out as a kid and grew up at. But then we went to this place called Demon's Road, which is a haunted cemetery where I'm from. It's on a
Oh
lot
my
of the
goodness.
yeah, it's on a lot of the America's, top haunted places and all that. And once I realized we had kind of a mutual liking for like macabre and the dark stuff, you know. I was like, that's the perfect spot. So we sat out there and um my big thing was music, her big thing was music. So it was like if you like this band, then I really like you. And we just kind of kept trading, you know, songs and we each knew each other's bands. And she was like, "Well, don't judge me. I'm going to show you, you know, a show." And she started talking to me about Twin Peaks. She's like, "This is probably the most out there thing I'm into that, you know, 95% of people don't understand or won't give a chance." And I mean, from the get-go, just watching it, and I was kind of sucked into it. And I was like, I can, I was like, I don't understand it fully. And she's like, but that's the point, you know? So once I understood that I don't understand, like it took it to a whole nother level, and I was sucked in pretty hard, and I've been a fanboy ever since.
I love it. So it wasn't even that long ago then, or how long have y'all were y'all
That was
together dating?
September of 2021, so
Oh yeah.
it hadn't been that long. I'm a newbie.
You're a newbie, but you're in. You're right here with us.
Yeah, I got raked in pretty hard. So for only being, you know, around for three whatever years it is, like I feel that I kind of dove into the deep end of the pool on it. So not a casual fan. I'm pretty hard about it.
Yeah, yeah. What aspects of Twin Peaks do you, as someone who's just seeing it like not that long ago, what aspects were you really drawn to? If you don't, I mean, that's a huge question, but
Well, it goes back to that thing Katie told me, like, you don't understand. She said, even when she was talking to me about David Lynch, who I knew his work prior, I knew Blue Velvet and Mulholland
mm,
Drive and Lost Highway and stuff. I just, for some reason, Twin Peaks just never had hit my radar prior to that. But it was more, there was a Lynch quote I've always liked where he said people expect art to make sense, but they accept the fact that doesn't make sense. And so once I kind of applied that quote to watching Twin Peaks, I was like, oh, I don't understand. I don't think I'm supposed to. I don't think David Lynch probably understands. It's just kind of takes it in the moment, whatever he feels, that's what he puts on screen, and maybe he can't even explain it, and that's why he never did. So, once I kind of took that mindset to it, it took it to another stratosphere of just interest and intrigue, and everything just kind of felt like a fever dream, and I respected
mm,
that.
mm. And I mean, you and Katie would go to like fan conventions and like you would go to fest. I mean, you were like in it,
Yeah, we're some Comic-Con nerds, and I'm proud of it. So,
as you should be.
yeah. And I mean, it was just I think she told the story about how we kind of got pulled into the family. We were just standing in line randomly at a Comic-Con in Lexington, Kentucky, and Aaron Cohen tapped her on the shoulder and was like, "I really like your tattoos." And of
Mm.
course, he was wearing the Twin Peaks Letterman jacket, so you know that gave away that he's a fan as well. And he just said, "Hey, you know, a couple of us are getting together for drinks and all that." And then we got pulled into that, and I met a lot of people I'm still friends with today, and hung out with John Neff and those kind of people. And that was a really cool thing to be welcomed in like that. And they treated us like we had been fans since the show came out. So,
Mm.
and it was real. The sense of community is, I guess, what I'm drawn to at this point. The show's
Mhm.
great, don't get me wrong, but the sense of community with the fans, like that,
Yeah.
it's very special, and that takes it to kind of another level as far as just being interested in a TV show. So I do appreciate that part of it. So that's always gonna anchor me down to be a Twin Peaks fan.
Beautifully said, Matt. Thanks for sharing that. I agree. I feel that way with the community too. Um, what's it like to go back and watch it now? Or maybe even since August, since you've moved there. I don't know if you've returned or
Oh
returned
yeah.
to the return. I don't know how you.
Well, since I've been here, I've been nerding out hard, and it's cool to watch Twin Peaks in Twin Peaks. I've been doing that a lot. Just that's surreal, seeing Mount Si and stuff on the show, and then looking over and it's right over my shoulder, and sitting at Tweeds. You know, David Lynch would be mad that I'm watching movies on my phone, but
Yeah, you would.
I did watch, you know, a few episodes on my iPad and stuff while I'm sitting in the diner and stuff, and that was just it just made it like so surreal and next level. And
Mm.
uh, you know, I also try to go back and do what newbie fans would do is like, well, maybe if I go back and watch it and try to figure this out, or if I didn't notice something before, I can piece it together. And like, that's my mistake. You know, I'm guilty of that. Like, there is
Awesome.
stuff I missed, and there's stuff that kind of changes my opinion of things. But for the most part, like, I made the rookie mistake of trying to understand again. So I stopped doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Stay in the mystery, right?
Yes,
Like stay in the
exactly.
intrigue. That's what we're meant to do. Mm.
And
Um,
and that and I think that mystique is kind of what draws me in, whether that's subconscious or on the front of my mind. Like that's what draws me in. So it's very
mm,
interesting.
hmm. Yeah, and when I watch, I feel like I'm in my own world. Like I feel very protective and private about like watching certain episodes and watching Fire Walk with Me. Like I don't want anybody around. It's very funny. And at the same time, I feel very connected to community and I feel very connected to the world. So it's kind of both. And I'm wondering, and if this is too personal of a question, just don't answer. Feel free to not answer, but I'm wondering what if there is a felt sense of a connection to Katie, if and when you watch it now, or if and when you go to the certain places now, Mount Si or to Tweeds, and what that's like for you.
Uh, well, I mean, the music definitely is
Mm.
that, you know, kind of that connection to the other world, whatever that may be. I'm not a crazy religious person, but I claim to not know. I think it's like, I always tell people when my family pretty much is for the most part, and I just tell them to me it's like an ant trying to understand a cell phone. So I think if we try to grasp that level of, knowledge and intrigue, I just think we're going to disappoint ourselves because we can't grasp it. So I don't know what I think. I just know there have been a lot of weird circumstances, maybe coincidences, I don't know, but there's definitely a connection. I can't quite articulate it, but just certain feelings you get when you hear certain music or you're in a spot. And, before she passed, she did tell me, she was like, if there's a way to communicate with you through song or electricity, I'll find a way kind of thing. And I was like, that's nice. And there's been a lot of strange moments that I can't explain and long stories with that, but there's definitely a connection, whatever that is.
Ooh, that just got me a little bit mad. Thanks for sharing that part. And Katie, it's so funny because Katie in our talk said some very similar things. Like she would go somewhere and then a street would be called, I forget, Palmer Street or
Yeah.
something. She would talk about all these like synchronicities that happened to her while she was immersed in the show and with her ink too. And I think that's like in part like what happens in Twin Peaks is that there are all of these synchronicities if you slow down and pay attention to
Yeah.
them and get in that frequency or that vibration of them, right? If you feel into the music or the electricity, like what you were saying, we can access it. And that is something that's like hard to explain. Like, how do you put that in words? That's like
Yeah.
an
I've
energy, a
always,
frequency, a vibration. How do you call it, you know?
yeah, I've tried. She's more articulate and intelligent than I am, so I do my best to explain that feeling, but I mean, I think the average person can't, and maybe that's the point, and just whatever.
Yeah, but again, it's
Just
part of that
appreciate the
mystery.
feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate the feeling. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's talk about your ink. Tell me
Yeah.
all about your ink and describe it for us.
Well, I mean, like I said, I've never fallen in love with the show as much as I had with that. So Katie had the Twin Peak tattoos, and that was our big bond. And I can't tell you how many hours we sat and just watched the show. Her tattoos are more of, uh, I mean, Laura is wrapped in plastic on the top of her arm, so I don't want to say it's all positive, but it's
Right.
it's kind of the brighter side. It's Audrey's face with the bright makeup and Cooper sipping the coffee and, the mountains and the tree lines. And it's more of the beauty,
Mhm.
of Twin Peaks. And I kind of took the dark aspect of it. Like I said, my sense of humor's, as much as I consider myself a nice guy, my sense of humor is pretty dark. I like the inappropriate jokes. I like,
Nice.
the dark stuff and the horror aspect of everything. So I did have a weird dream after she had showed me the episode where Bob was crawling over the couch, that classic imagery. She was like, "This terrifies me," blah blah blah, and I watched it and I'm like, "Oh, it's not that bad." But I hadn't had a nightmare in 10 years, and then that night I had a nightmare. And I didn't wake up scared. I woke up more just intrigued and I had this weird part of my dream where I saw Bob's face like coming at me real fast,
Oh my
how it
God.
kind of took up the whole frame of the screen.
Yeah.
I saw that, and then I saw his hair coming down, draped up and greasy, but it faded into red and went into the curtains of the Black Lodge. So, like my on my forearm, that's what it is. It's just Bob's face, and his hair trickles down and turns into the curtains, and uh, you just see the floor and the chevrons and everything on the floor on that. And then on the inside of my forearm, I have the owl cave symbol. Me and Katie got that after, like right after I proposed when we were at Spooky Empire.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember she showed me those. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just went over top of that. Above that is Black Lodge Laura, eyes whited out, screaming above that symbol. And
And I just love all the horror elements that you've got going on here. Like you
oh
really
yeah,
do embrace, like you said, embrace the horror. I love it.
I love it. That's my thing. And above Laura's head is, the all the Douglas firs, in the fog. And above that, I have a heartogram, which it's not directly Twin Peaks, but the reason the heartogram's there is just because I'm a big hymn fan. I like their music, and they have a song that's kind of they don't come out and just say it, but it's kind of pays homage to Angelo, and, it
Mm,
kind of has that Laura's theme in the background. You can kind of hear traces of it. And so,
mm. Oh,
I
that's so
mean,
cool.
so I just kind of merged those two things because I know they kind of did it subliminally. So I wanted to
Mm.
kind of pay homage to that. And then
And this
on
is
the
all on one sleeve. Like this is your left
yeah, this
sleeve.
this is my left lower forearm, like
Oh, lower,
or
lower
my
farm.
left forearm. It's all covered
Hmm.
in Twin Peaks. And on the side of that is the owl with the moon in the background,
Mm.
perching over Black Lodge Laura. And then above that, kind of faded off into the sky, is Leland whenever, he's it's kind of exposed as the killer, at least when Sheriff Truman and Cooper lock him in
Mm.
the interrogation room, and he starts wigging out with the white hair and making the face. Like, so I wanted to do that because that scene to me is that was the darkest, coolest, most intriguing thing about the show to me. And I'm sure everybody's got their favorite moment. And whenever Leland kind of got exposed and it was blatantly obvious now that, he was the killer, Bob or not, that was my favorite scene. So I wanted to have that on my arm. And let's see. And of course, Katie had a tattoo that wasn't necessarily Twin Peaks related, but it was a Jack Kerouac quote
Mm.
that said "Mad to Live," and she had drawn like a mountain range underneath it. And so I copied that tattoo and mimicked it, from what she had, but I put the mountains over the Douglas firs, so it looks like the mountains are off in the background with her tattoo.
Mm.
So, but that's about it. But there's a couple other things I'd like to get. I'm doing a memorial sleeve on the upper part of my arm, and Sherilyn Finn was nice enough. I got her handwriting for her to write out "Dreamy," and then I have like this little kind of cartoon depiction of Audrey with her shoes up, with the skirt when she's dancing in the diner, and I
Hmm.
wanted to put "Dreamy" underneath that and add that to my Katie sleeve. So that'll be the next thing whenever that happens.
That's incredible. Oh,
And
that's
of course,
so good.
I got to pay respect to Nina Himes. She's a tattoo
Hmm.
artist here in Seattle, for those that don't know. And the day after Lynch passed, she was able to kind of fit me in, and I got a little vector image of David on the inside of my arm for my Katie sleeve. So it's cool seeing his face. And I have a weird, like, spooky looking tree that his face is put behind. So it kind of has that "see you in the trees" meaning too. So,
Mm.
and that was a happy accident. It just worked out, but I guess there's no accidents.
Yeah, there's no accidents. Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that. And like, what an incredible work of art on your arm. And wait, did you go from like no tattoos to also a sleeve, or did you have other ones?
I did a couple smaller ones. Our favorite band together was Smashing Pumpkins, so I have a little Smashing Pumpkins tribute on my other arm. But I started off small. I didn't get
Hmm.
any tattoos until I was 35 years old, and I always just kind of delayed it or just never worked out. I just never thought about it, even though I was interested in it and appreciated the art form and wanted to do it. I just never did it. And of course, Katie's thing was, let's go on a tattoo date. And once the needle hit my arm for the first time, it was on from there.
Oh, God, I totally get it. It's so good. What is it like to wear all of those incredible pieces? What does it feel like? How does it connect you to the world? And also, on that question, you've got a lot of kind of memorializing tattoos. So,
Yeah.
what's that like for you on your skin?
Uh, uh, it's weird just having all the evil aspects of Twin Peaks on my arm. It's more of just I don't want it to sound depressing, but it's more of just reminds you of the evil that's out there. Um, I don't look at it like in a negative way. It's just more of I appreciate the good times because I'm reminded of the evil kind of thing. So I don't take the good times for granted because I know what could happen and what could be lurking out there. So it helps you appreciate life more. It's maybe a reach to some people, but oh well, it's my tattoo.
That's such a beautiful spin. It's like a reminder of the evil and a reminder of the beauty at the same time.
Yeah. And just with the upper part of the sleeve, since me and Katie connected on Twin Peaks, the memorial sleeve is just, there's a few that I've mimicked tattoos that she had and kind of put my own little twist and blended them together. But pretty much everything that was on her body is on that arm. And of course, I have a portrait of her on my chest, and the artist was able to kind of touch on her Twin Peaks sleeve, so I have little remnants of that in her portrait. So it's like I kind of got that too. So that's pretty neat.
Wow. Oh, I didn't realize you had a portrait. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's on the chest. That was not my
Mm.
best moment. I tried to He-Man through that, but hey, I
I
did it.
mean, listen, that is a rough spot. The ribs, the chest, forget about it. Feet, hard.
Oh, I don't have any ribs or feet. I have something on my sternum, and
Ooh.
yeah, it
Oh,
was a guy that did my first bit of artwork, and I think that was my third tattoo. It's nothing crazy. It's a My Chemical Romance spider from, one of their albums, and the guy, he never wanted to conversate. It was always kind of an awkward silence there, and I'm the kind of guy that likes to push and talk and kind of, get
yeah.
rid of the white noise kind of thing.
Yeah.
I always felt like I was bothering him, and he didn't want to conversate.
Oh, I
But the
hate that.
but the day that we did that sternum tattoo and I could barely breathe, he wanted to ask me about my weekend and what I was doing,
Of
and
course.
I was like, man, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm just trying to take in air, brother. I just please don't talk to me.
Oh, that's so funny. I can relate. I have a little tiny rib piece, so tiny. And I don't know, I just forgot about anatomy for a second because I was like, I kind of want a little thing just right here, on the side. And once she started going, I was like, oh my God, oh my gosh. Ah, this is so much. She goes, yeah, you know you're getting a rib tattoo, right? And I was like, oh fuck. No, I forgot. That was rib tattoo. Yeah, but same thing, like I can't breathe. Don't talk to me. Like let's play some music or you tell me a story that I don't have to respond to.
Exactly. And my sister, her first tattoo, she has like I don't know, it's some kind of cross or something on her rib cage, and
Ooh.
I mean, it's from like the armpit to the bottom of the rib cage, and that was her first tattoo. So hats off to you ladies because your pain
Mhm.
tolerance is beyond anything I would care to sit through on purpose.
Do people ever ask you anything or say anything about your tattoos?
Yes, but it's one of those where if they have zero knowledge of what Twin Peaks is,
Hmm.
and and we don't have the time to have that conversation, it's kind of a downer because like I want to tell you, but I was
You
like,
want to talk
we're
about it?
about to stop on the train.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a long ordeal. But what was funny, I was in Grapeland, Texas, which if you pass the stop sign and look down for a second, you went through the town, you missed it. But there was just a little grocery store over there, and I mean, I stopped in for whatever. But I was going through there, and there was a cashier that looked like he was about 16 years old, and he looked at my forearm. He's like, "Is that Bob from Twin Peaks?" And so I had to dab him up, and I was like,
Oh my.
"Bro, well, how did you know that?" He's like, "I love that show, man." So we talked a little bit about it, and it was that whole thing where he's like, "What'd you think about such and such? What do you think's gonna happen?" Because he hadn't seen it all the way through. He was watching it. He was like midway through season 2,
Oh
and
man.
I was like, "Well, just that whole thing. I don't want to give anything away, but
Hmm.
you know, don't go into it like I did, trying to figure it out. Just enjoy the moment and ride each episode in that time." And you'll enjoy it a lot more. At least it'll give you more peace of mind.
That's
So
such great advice. I love that you were talking about this with like a cashier in the middle of nowhere in Texas. It's so
I
great.
thought that was great, and I did it surprised me. I was so caught off guard, I was half asleep, and I just like what? And there's people in Seattle that I've run into that have asked me, what do your tattoos mean? And I was like, it's Twin Peaks, and what's that? I was like, how do you live in Twin Peaks and you don't know what Twin Peaks? I was like, you're here, man, and they're natives for the most part. I hear people like I grew up here or I've been here for 20 years, and I was like, and you've never heard of it? And like, okay, so to each his own, I guess.
Is there anything that you would love for someone to ask you about your Twin Peaks tattoos?
Uh, I mean, there's nothing in particular that stands out, but I just, if somebody asks me something, whatever it may be, and we have time to talk about it, and they actually care to have a conversation, and we're both kind of mutually interested in speaking to one another, and they're curious about the topic, that's cool, whatever the question may be. So anytime I get a chance to run my head and hear myself talk about something I like, it's always a good time.
Hmm. And have you ever, with any of your other tattoos, have you ever had any annoying questions or interactions with people about your tattoos?
Well, I mean, I come from, I guess, the deep south, so tattoos, having a full sleeve and stuff like that, it's not necessarily what, everybody assumes that I'll never get a job again and I'll never be happy, I'll never be able to go out in public. I mean, that kind of stuff, just that ridiculous.
Mhm.
But that's the only thing that annoys me, I guess, is like, no, I'm have a job, I'm happy, I'm good, and like there's other people out there that aren't gonna freak out over tattoos, and the world will keep spinning, it's fine. But it's more not necessarily just directly related to one particular tattoo, but just that annoyance of like it's 2025. I think at least 50%, if not more, of our population has something, whether it's small and concealed or if it's a sleeve or a necktie, whatever. Somebody's got something. So let's everybody calm down.
No, I know. I feel the same way too. Like when I go back to Oklahoma to visit family, there is this like cultural thing of like, first of all, everyone looks at me and I get more sort of like stares, but also compliments because I think culturally people are more like apt to, hey, how you doing? Like, oh, I like this thing about you, rather than like being in California or something.
Yeah.
Um, and but also this kind of old idea that, right, you're not going to be able to get a job, like people won't take you seriously. Like that is still that prevails there. And it's so interesting because I haven't found that at all. And I'm fully sleeved, I've all visible, many visible tattoos. And also I think, and maybe this is a sort of privileged thing to say, but I wouldn't want to take a job that would not hire me because of that would have a problem with my tattoos. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
I
it's like
mean,
that's not for me. We're not a good match, right? Like if
I
that's
just
the
think at that
case.
point you're looking at somebody on the surface, and if that's what
Hmm.
your company bases their mindset around, what the surface looks like as opposed to what you're actually doing and what somebody can contribute, I don't think I'm going to be able to contribute to what y'all are trying to build because
Exactly.
it's not my mindset.
Hmm.
I've met some great people with tattoos. I've met some horrible people with tattoos. I've met horrible people without tattoos, and great people without tattoos. So if you judge based off of somebody having a butterfly on their neck and that's what you live your life by, that's on you. I'm not gonna try to change your mind. You're grown. You can figure it out for yourself. But
Thank you. Thank you. I like that, Matt. Do you find do you talk to other people in the Twin Peaks community who have tattoos, Twin Peaks tattoos?
yeah, there's a few of us. I mean, I guess they don't mind if I name drop them and stuff like that. But I mean, Nina comes to mind just because
Hmm.
she's done some of my work, and I like her style and how she's, has her Twin Peaks related tattoos and how she's a super fan like I am.
Hmm.
I mean, pretty much everybody that I've met through Comic Cons or something, majority of them have something that kind of stands out to me. There's
Hmm.
a girl that we kind of meet in passing every time that's pretty well known in the little fan group, and Katie McAllister.
Hmm. Yeah. She's got some
I'm
beautiful, beautiful portraits.
yeah, and kind of somebody else we met that's always been super nice and supportive to me girl named Erin, and she's got a Black Lodge lore, and she's got the portrait and all that, of the kind of like the prom portrait, whatever that is, and her Black Lodge lore on the other side, and it's really well done, and other people having Twin Peaks tattoos, just like okay, huh? Like me and Katie aren't by ourselves. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I know you've got um, the Audrey caricature and the writing that's coming up next for your
Yeah.
next tattoo. Anything else that you have on the docket, either Twin Peaks related or otherwise?
Oh yeah, everybody that.
I know what's your list, right?
uh, well, I guess the tattoo that Katie wanted that she never got was on my left side of my chest. I have her portrait, and on the other side, I was gonna mimic um, just kind of the same pose that they're in because she wanted Kurt Cobain where he's leaning over his guitar smoking a cigarette. So I wanted to do that portrait on the other side of my chest and kind of tie that into the piece just because
Cool.
that's what she wanted. And
Mm.
when I look at the pose that I have of her on the beach where she's kind of perched up looking at the sun, and then the pose that Kurt's in where he's perched over the guitar with a cigarette in his mouth, it's kind of like a mirror image. So I thought that would be
Beautiful.
perfectly synced.
Definitely.
And then I mean there's just little stuff. If I got tattooed when I wanted to at like 13 years old, I'd have like an arm full of Ninja Turtles or something. So I don't know. I need to better think out some stuff.
Oh, come on. Just get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're
But
amazing.
well, I
Full
probably
color.
will because I said the same thing about, when I was 10, I was like, if I ever grow up, I want to get a Pokemon tattoo. And
Yeah.
so I just freestyled it one day and went into my buddy's shop, and I heard that the artist that he had working for him at the time was good with color, and cartoon caricatures and stuff like that. And I was like, "What do you think about doing like a Charizard on my bicep?" And he was like, "I got you, bro." So,
Oh
so
my gosh.
I
Wait, I
got
want to see. Well, when you can, if you can, I'd want to see this.
I can try. No, there we go.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so cute. Oh my goodness. It's
Yeah.
so, so cute.
And I'm not a big color tattoo guy. I like the black
Hmm.
and gray, but that's one of my only color ones, and I'm very proud of that.
And it is, and there's a lot of like black within it. So like it's gonna stand the test of time, even though it's got color in it, which is beautiful. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
he punched that color in quite well. That was a
Hmm.
good fit. That was nice. And every
Yes, it
time
is.
like he'd look at it and fine tune it, and not have that raw, skin that was done, and I need a break. And he's like, no, I'm gonna go in and fill this in. So I think the color is gonna be with me for a long time.
It will. I will, I can tell. What character would you love to see have a tattoo in Twin Peaks? And maybe what tattoo would that be?
Hmm. Uh, I mean, the first thing that pops in my head would be James if he's gonna be on the motorcycle and
Hmm.
be the badass and the kind of loner on the road, not knowing where he's going. He just goes. Like, I mean, every time I think of a biker, whether it's, appropriate or not, I just assume they have tattoos all over the place. So that would be interesting. But that cool leather jacket would cover everything up. So,
Right. So people wouldn't be able to see it, but then when he would wear short sleeves in the summer, then it would sort of pop out. What do
oh yeah,
you have a sense of what it would be?
no, just anything American traditional comes to mind with
Hmm.
bikers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
totally.
some kind of eagle or snake,
Hmm.
American flag, whatever.
Totally. Absolutely. American traditional, 100%. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
He did it like when he rode away before maybe he met Evelyn and he was just like on like crying and upset and angry.
Yeah, I can. For some reason, I can see him with like an eagle on his chest or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, totally. That's a good one.
Mm.
Um, we are honoring David Lynch's birthday and his passing today. And we know, even though in our heart of hearts, we probably already knew that there's not going to be a season 4 of Twin Peaks, but in another dimension, in another world where there could be a season 4 of Twin Peaks, what character, either existing or new, would you want to play?
I did think about that, and I would. What would be interesting, with Mr. C and Audrey having a son that, kind of went on a rampage and no spoilers, I guess, but I assume it's all Twin Peaks fans. But,
Yeah.
at his end or whatever, it would just be interesting, like, oh, they had another kid, or there were twins or something like that. That's kind of the dark thing that comes to mind.
Oh my
I
God.
wouldn't
Wait, you
want
would
to.
want to be that other kid, that twin?
I mean, that's the first thing that interests me that comes to mind.
Oh
Just
my
the
gosh.
dark and the evil. Like they think that that problem's been solved and he met his end, and
Mm.
whatever. But come to find out, there's somebody else out there. There's another one, kind of like the Star Wars dynamic, the Skywalkers. There's another.
And would you be just as evil? Like, what kind of fuckery would you be doing? Or would you be like the less evil or the good twin, like the version that could have been?
Well, I would say that everything works in synchronicity. So maybe it would be
Mm.
interesting if he's the poster boy of evil, and then you have another, it's kind of like Lucifer and Michael, where you have somebody else that's the poster boy of good and they're brothers and they clash. But at the same time, as interesting as that may be, maybe that's no fun. Maybe the other one's just as evil and he wants to avenge his brother. That's more of my style.
That is so amazing. You just are like, I mean, it's so bold what you just said, and I love it. I love it. No one has ever said that. I mean, no one's ever come up with that idea that I've talked to, and certainly not on this pod. So, like, that's awesome. You really are like sticking to your truth about your love of the horror and the strange and the evil. I love it.
Either people they like you or they don't, but there's 7 billion people. I'll find somebody that does. It'd be all right.
My goodness, Matt, it has been a pleasure to talk to you and to meet you actually. And not just, I mean, we've seen each other online and things like that, but to actually have a conversation has just been really, really, really awesome, especially during this time and on this day as we're honoring all the people that have been so meaningful to us and all of what you shared about Katie and also about you and your love of the show and what it's meant for you has really meant a lot to me.
Absolutely. Same here. And, my heart goes out to his family and close friends and everybody and people that he's worked with, which I assume are friends as well. And, I know it's a dark time. I've been there, so I'm still there. So I know that, nothing's easy. When you lose somebody like that, and even fans that just connected through his art, maybe they didn't even meet him. My heart goes out to all them because I know that it's all subjective. Everybody feels it different. Maybe they're wanting to honor, maybe they're just heartbroken and sad, but everybody's got their way. So whatever your way is, it's not the wrong way, it's your way. So
That's right.
it's and of course everything going on in California at the moment, that all that is terrible, and hopefully
Mhm.
that comes to an end fast and the rebuild begins. So it's it's a weird time. So
It's a weird
just
time.
try to stay positive and help where you can, and that's all you can do, I guess.
And that's what you continue to do and continue to model for all of us in grieving, but also just in life and how you move through the world. And I'm excited to meet you next month
Absolutely.
in person. Say hi and have a coffee and pie together.
I'll be there. Happy camper. Can't wait.
Oh my gosh, same. How can folks find you online? Do you have
Uh,
handles?
well, I was proud of the fact that, I mean, I pretty much just have Facebook. I have Instagram, but I don't think anything's on there. But just Matthew Edgin on Facebook,
Okay.
and that's where I do all my little Katie travels and document everything. I wasn't really a social media guru before that, but I've been posting, just documenting everything I do with her, as far as her memory goes. But apparently I'm an old man because nobody's on Facebook anymore, but
I don't know.
but that's fine. But that's the only place where I'm really at, and I'll respond and all that stuff. So I'll
Fabulous.
pretty much, anybody that has anything related to Twin Peaks, I'll add you. I'm interested in you.
That's great. And it's important that we all keep connecting, especially right now and during this time. So fabulous. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Twin Peaks Tattoo Podcast. Rate and review us on iTunes and follow me on Instagram at Marinelli.